Donald Trump is getting absolutely shellacked in Pennsylvania right now. A rude awakening he has received indeed, where his approval right now in Pennsylvania, guess what it is? Net negative 19.4%, basically net negative 20%. My, has Donald Trump fallen in Pennsylvania, and he and MAGA Republicans are terrified in the midterms that they are going to lose a ton of seats in Pennsylvania, whether it's Pennsylvania's 1st Congressional District or others. The Trump and MAGA brand is absolutely toxic. Let's zoom out for a moment, then zoom back in on some of these congressional districts. But as we zoom out, you look at the generic ballot polling right now, based on what Republican pollsters are saying. Take a look, for example, Republican pollster Big Data, their latest poll has Democrats leading in the generic ballot 53 to 41% when asked. So far in his second term, has Trump been better or worse than you expected? Only 25% of Americans say better, 51% say worse. That's the latest YouGov poll. How about who did a better job in office? Former President Biden or Donald Trump right now? Biden would win the election if it was held right now. Biden, 49 to 41% people view Biden as doing a better job. Does Trump have the temperament to be the president? Only 40% say yes, 54% say no. And I want to zoom in right now into Bucks County, Pennsylvania. That's Pennsylvania's 1st congressional district. If you heard the expression, as goes Bucks, so goes the country. The swingiest district in the swingiest state, or in this case, the Commonwealth, completely revolting and turning against Trump and his regime right now. It's interesting because in Bucks, they have this guy, a Republican Congress member, Brian Fitzpatrick, who represents this district, and he tries to present himself like he's some moderate and I don't really support all this, when he has enabled pain and suffering in the 1st congressional district. I mean, just let's look at the data right here. Because Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans refused to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies in MAGA Republican Brian Fitzpatrick's district, Pennsylvania's 1st congressional district, a couple that previously paid $523 per month that earned about $82,000 a year for Affordable Health Care Act health insurance is now paying 3 times that as much, about $1,480. That's an increase of $11,485 or 183% every damn year at this point. I want to just even share with you, and I think this is, by the way, do you remember in Bucks County what Trump did right there leading up to the election, right? October 20th, 2024. That's where he was serving the McDonald's fries. And he's like, look, I'm in McDonald's, everybody. I care about affordability, when he's made everything far less affordable right now, where he's caused inflation to surge with his tariffs against the world. Heck, even when the Supreme Court on Friday struck down Donald Trump's tariffs against the world, said they were unlawful, what did he do immediately? He revoked the exemption on the de minimis tariff exemption, which exempted tariffs on goods $800 or less. And then he instituted a tariff regime pursuant to the U.S. Trade Act of 1974, Section 122, where he imposed tariffs of 10% on every single country for the next 150 days, even though those are unlawful. And when you speak to the people of Pennsylvania, they're saying what people across this country are saying. The tariffs are killing them, almost quite literally, and it's causing prices to surge, input costs to surge. It is preventing United States exporters from reaching markets outside of the United States. I mean, just take a look at what Harry Enten said earlier in the day, where he talked about how as a result of Trump's tariffs against the world, he's never been less popular, and every single poll has him in the negative. There's not one poll where he's positive right now. Play this clip.
How have tariffs played a role in President Trump's popularity?
Okay, just look at the CBS News polling, right? Okay, if you look before Liberation Day, there were zero polls where Trump had a negative net approval rating according to CBS News. But look at all the polls after Liberation Day. All of them have given Trump a negative net approval rating according to CBS News. So there was this clear inflection point. Yes, the numbers might have gone up and down a little bit, but once he dropped into the negatives, once he went underwater, once he was swimming with the fishes, after Liberation Day, he stayed swimming with the fishes, and that is not a place you want to be.
Before, none. After, all. Tells you a little bit of a story there. Okay.
You know, as I think about Bucks County, Pennsylvania as well, and I think about how they're revolting against Trump and his despicable regime right now, I also, though, remember this speech that was given by California Governor Gavin Newsom when former President Joe Biden was still in the race back on July 7th, 2024. And I just think about how prescient this speech was, where Governor Newsom was warning the people in Bucks County about Project 2025, about Donald Trump's agenda where he was going to make things less affordable, not more affordable. Play this clip.
No one is naive. If we haven't been paying attention, my gosh, we've been asleep the last few years. For most of my life, we've seen this revolution of rights and expansion of rights across the board. In the last 4 or 5 years, we have seen rights regressions. The Trump administration, Project 2025, you'll see if you're paying attention. Even Trump is trying to deny he had any association with that. That says everything you need to know. But this election fundamentally is about rolling back. If Donald Trump succeeds, God help us, we will roll back the last half century. It's America in reverse. They want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, and you are the front lines of that opposition.
But you know, in Bucks County, you had this guy, Scott Pressler, there, and he was really pushing the MAGA message. Trump and MAGA funded this guy, and he's going back into Bucks again. But this is the big MAGA get out the vote guy, Scott Pressler. Remember him? Here's what he said back then. Play this clip.
Hey everybody, this is Scott Pressler. We are here outside of the Doylestown Courthouse. As you can see, we are setting up a beautiful Trump table. We have Trump signs. You come out, you vote. You have until 5 p.m. today, and you also have Thursday and Friday. You make your voices heard. If they are going to disenfranchise our voters, then we are going to show up in full peaceful force. See you soon. And I'll also be here tomorrow.
Now, notably, MAGA Republican Congress member Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania's First, who claims to be moderate, he's like, we all know that affordability is so key right now. There's an affordability crisis, and we got to address it. Hey, bud, you're the one who's causing it with Trump. You have to have accountability. Your party's in charge. Trump's your guy. What are you doing? Here, play this clip.
Because you know, if you represent people of lower and middle income means, and affordability is such a crisis in this country right now for everything from childcare to transportation to housing to food to fuel and to healthcare, people are squeezed right now. And to add this on top of that, you know, a significant increase in their premiums is not an option. So I think a lot of my colleagues are realizing that.
And then MAGA Republican Congress member Fitzpatrick is like, you know what? And I'm hearing so many people, you know, who are suffering now because of the fact that the Affordable Care Act subsidies have been ripped away, and we haven't put forward any alternatives. Hey, bud, you're the we. You're the MAGA Republicans, man. What you have to take some accountability. Here, play this clip.
Well, I say that if you don't have a better plan, then get on board with ours. But doing nothing is not an option, right? I mean, I've heard so many people in the Republican conference rail on the Affordable Care Act, rail on Obamacare, rail on the premium tax credits. And if you want to criticize something, that's okay as long as you have a better alternative. They have never offered a better alternative. We went down this healthcare path my freshman term. I voted against the repeal of the ACA. I thought the replacement was insufficient. It was hastily put together, not well thought out. And here we are, you know, 8 years later, and they still have not been able to put together an articulable plan that's going to work for everyday Americans. So, you know, is the premium tax credit structure perfect? No, it's not. I don't like the fact that there's no income caps. I don't like the fact that the money all goes to the insurance company and rather than having some go to the individual. But right now, with a cliff upon us at the end of the year, I think we have to extend it out a minimum of 2 years with guardrails, with income caps.
All All right, I want to bring in my interview with Bob Harvie. He's a Bucks County commissioner. Bob Harvie's a longtime 20-plus year social studies teacher in Bucks County. I want to bring him in. He's the Democratic candidate running against Fitzpatrick. Here's the interview I just did with him. Here, let's play it. And as Donald Trump continues to attack Pennsylvania, lots of people feel pretty comfortable and confident heading into this midterms that there may be some big Democratic pickups in those congressional races. Everybody heard the expression, so goes Bucks County, so goes the nation. A swing state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, a swing district in Bucks. And we've seen during the presidential elections all the visits that go on in Bucks and all the things that happen there. We've been covering that here on the MeidasTouch network. I want to bring in right now Bob Harvie, who's running for Congress in Bucks County in Pennsylvania's 1st congressional district, running against a MAGA Republican Congress member named Brian Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick was the decisive vote for Donald Trump in bringing the disastrous budget bill that has hurt so many people in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and throughout this entire country. And now as we head closer to the midterms, Brian Fitzpatrick tries to now pretend that he's more of a moderate. Forget that I did all of these MAGA votes. Forget that I've destroyed your life. Forget all about it. And so he's running scared. I see him on CNN a lot where he tries to act like I didn't do the things that he did. But I don't know. I think he's treating the people of Bucks the way someone would treat the people of Bucks who rips away their health care, destroys their futures, and did all of the things when he sided with Trump. So it's great to see you. It's great to chat, Bob Harvie. And you're now the vice chair of the Bucks County Board of Commissioners. You were the chair. You served there since 2019. You were a high school teacher, social studies, for most of your career before then, for 26 years. Great to see you. You think you can flip this district?
Yes, I know I can flip this district. Look, my record here is pretty clear. I was a local elected official, flipped my township, and made it a Democratic controlled. Flipped this county when we were elected in 2019, first time in 40 years. This county's been democratically controlled. And my running mate and I got reelected in 2023, keeping this county democratically controlled. That's the first time since the Civil War that Democratic commissioners have been reelected in Bucks County. We had historic wins this past November. There were 9 countywide seats up. We won all 9, which has literally never happened before in the history of this county. And by the way, we're one of the 3 original counties in Pennsylvania, so we've been around a long time. And so this is definitely something we know that we can do. We had a poll that was done in October. We used the polling company that Governor Shapiro uses, so we know it's top-notch company. They know what they're doing. And that poll showed this race was tied, and that was before the November elections. So yeah, I'm confident we can win. Brian Fitzpatrick's never faced a countywide elected official before in any of his races. So it's going to be a tough year for him.
We see every presidential year, the politicians, they go to Bucks, they look the voters in the face, they make a bunch of promises, and often they don't live up to those promises, except this time it's not only not living up to those promises, it's like the exact opposite of the promises. It's not promises made, promises not delivered, or promises not kept. It's promises made. You are now the victims of a massive fraud that Donald Trump perpetuated on the people of Bucks. And everything I said I was going to do for you, in fact, I'm going to take everything and just make it so much worse for you. That's my observation from somebody just observing. But you're in there. I mean, as the vice chair, as a commissioner, you speak with people. You're in the community. You're embedded there. You taught in the area. What's going on? How are people living right now with the assault by Trump and MAGA on this district?
Yeah, you know what? Our lieutenant governor says that Bucks County is the swingiest county and the swingiest state in the country, and it's one of the reasons why so many people come here who are running for national office, because they really get a cross section of America. But you're 100% right. There are people in this county who are hurting right now. We just had statistics that came back just recently that we have a 15% drop in the number of people who were signed in to the state, what's called Penny, which is the State Affordable Care Act, component that people can get health care. And that's directly a result of Donald Trump and Brian Fitzpatrick, cutting the tax credits that enabled so many people in Pennsylvania and across the country to afford health care. I know that Donald Trump and Brian Fitzpatrick talk about making America great again. I don't know what Americans they're focusing on except for the billionaires, because that tax cut that went to those people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, people who don't need tax cuts, took money out of the hands of this county in terms of our ability to do our jobs. I was talking this morning to our emergency management director, who handles things like flooding and works with local law enforcement and first responders to help keep people safe and responding to disasters. And we've seen a dramatic cut in federal funding. We saw federal cuts in terms of election security, that makes our jobs harder, and the social services that help people who need it. So, there are people really struggling right now. Housing, especially. Look, I'm born and raised in this county. I've never lived anywhere else. I bought my first house about a quarter mile from the house I grew up in where my parents lived. And I was 24 when I bought that house. And I know this is a national problem. And in Bucks County, it's a real problem because, this younger generation, like my kids are 27 and 24, they're college educated. They paid off their debts. They've got good jobs. They can't afford to buy a house in this county. And even the counties around us, it's really tough. So how do they start their lives? For a whole generation of Americans, the American dream has been ripped away by Brian Fitzpatrick and Donald Trump because they care more about billionaires than they care about, businessmen and carpenters and teachers.
Well, they're flooding Fitzpatrick, MAGA. They are flooding the district with money and trying to spend millions of dollars the way to convince people that now what they've inflicted upon the people of Bucks is something that they didn't actually do. Someone has described it as it looks like a modern presidential campaign being waged in one congressional district. They view Trump, MAGA, Fitzpatrick, view this race as really the frontline race. And so I don't think I'm overemphasizing it when I say the stakes of this race. What do you want people to know about Fitzpatrick's record?
Well, look, the people in this district, he's been in office for 10 years. And what I ask people is, what's he done? Can they name anything he's done? Can they name a law he passed or, something he even co-sponsored that got passed? He's big on this. This is his trick. He talks about how bipartisan is. He's big on signing on as a sponsor to a Democratic written bill. But then a lot of those bills, when they come to the floor, he votes against them. So he can claim to be bipartisan because he supports Democratic bills, but then he doesn't actually get them passed. For people in this county, they know, and I keep asking them, and I get the same answer. They know that 10 years of Brian Fitzpatrick, their lives are not better. And certainly the last 13 months of the Trump administration, their lives are not better. And so this is a congressman who has really ignored the people of this district. He hasn't held an in-person town hall in 9 years. I've done 5, by the way, since I launched my campaign in April, and I'm going to keep doing them because it's my responsibility to talk to people, to meet them, to hear what they have to say. And what they have to say is they're angry about Brian Fitzpatrick.
Before we go, let us know where we can find or where our audience can find more about your campaign. And what's your final message to our 6 million subscribers and to those in the 1st Congressional District in Pennsylvania who may be watching this right now, who want to know what you're going to do for them? We know what Fitzpatrick didn't do or how he betrayed them, what you're going to do for them, and where can people learn more?
Look, my website is Bob Harvie for Congress. You see my last name behind me. It's spelled a little different than the Harvie you might be used to. You can learn more about me there. You can contribute to my campaign there. If you live locally, anywhere in the area, you want to volunteer, certainly we need your help. I know this is a fight that we have to win. The American dream is dying in this country for people. They don't know where their next check is going to come from to pay for rent, to pay for food, what's going to happen with their health care. This is not the America that I was raised in. It's not the America most of you were raised in. And so this is a race we must win. There are 4 races here in Pennsylvania. We can flip all 4 seats, including this one. And as you said, this is the one of, we flip this seat and we know we have a Democratic House and we can start putting our country back together again.
Bob Harvie, running for Pennsylvania's 1st Congressional District. Thanks for joining us, Bob. Good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.